And in order to do that, you need to integrate a lot of capabilities into the chipset. And so that's something which takes a lot of investment to do. But once it's done, now you've got a very interesting capability in these kinds of devices. And not only that, but once we've made those investments in the low end, they actually come back in the form of other kinds of devices, machine-to-machine devices that you could embed a capability into a thermostat or into a lighting system or into an electric vehicle, all these kinds of opportunities. Now what's interesting, Qualcomm ships about 100 million chips in a quarter. In 3 months, we ship 100 million chips. So if you think about that, an engineer at Qualcomm has an idea. It can affect 100 million people in 3 months. And that's an incredibly motivating thing. And as we talk here about innovation, you think about that in terms of innovation, the fact that we're able to affect that many lives with the ideas. And it's not just about ideas that are created at Qualcomm, it's also about ideas that are created by our partners. And so we work with partners, we get their technology out to market, or we work with partners to get their devices out to the market, and they're all enabled by these chipsets that are going into the phones. Now the other thing that's interesting about what goes into the phones is this microprocessor capability. So you probably remember those days when you would buy a PC and everybody would talk about how many gigahertz there were in a given in your PC. And now we've forgot about that on the side of the PC because they're off talking about other things and there's so many gigahertz it doesn't really matter anymore. Well, I'm sorry to tell you it's coming back again for phones. So we're going to have a tremendous amount of capabilities into the phones. Basically the same kind of processing power that you have on your laptop is going into your phone, but at much, much less battery usage, so lower power consumption, because we know that you want to be able to make a phone call with it. And so we have this technology that's called Snapdragon, and it's gone into a wide range of products, and you can see some of these here. There's tablet-style devices, there's various smartphones, there's tablets of different sizes, so very large ones down to ones that you can fit in your pocket. There's ones from all different kinds of manufacturers around the world, and we see this trend of people going towards smartphones as being a really interesting trend in the world. It's been one that's been very positive for us and really comes along with that vision that I said of the wireless internet being a bigger impact on the world than the wired internet. But what we expect is this year alone, 1 out of every 5 phones sold in the world will be a smartphone. And if you look forward to 2012, it's going to be 1 out of 3 are the projections. So 1/3 of the phones that will be sold in the world are going to be smartphones. And we're talking, I mean, this is a market the size of over 1 billion phones get sold a year. So it's really a large, large number of devices that are going to be out there. And they come with all different kinds of operating systems on them. So I don't know whether you follow all of this stuff, but Microsoft's got one, and Google's got one, and Apple's got one, and I mean, it's just many, many companies are trying to fight it out to give you an experience, a really interesting experience on that device that you carry around with you. And I think we'll see over the next few years lots and lots of innovation in this area. Different kinds of devices, different sizes, different kinds of buttons or different software interfaces on them, different applications that come onto the devices. You know, it's really been an exciting ride for the last few years, and as we see developers really engaging into this. Now, another thing that we know, though, with a device that you get on the internet with is that instead of holding it up to your head, you're looking at it more. You're actually interacting with the screen more. And so what's happened is the screen is actually starting to be the thing in the phone that causes your battery to run out because you're using it so much. And so we invented a new technology called Mirasol. And what this technology does is it actually acts, the reason why we're showing a butterfly, it acts like a butterfly's wing. It makes color in the same way that a butterfly's wing does, which is you have a little gap, a little mirror and a piece of glass, and when the light comes into it and reflects out, it reflects out at a certain color. And so we make it reflect out some in red, some green, blue, just like a normal display works. but this will work in the sun outdoors. And you know yourselves, when you take your cell phone outside, you have to sort of cup it and you can't really see it so well. Well, as the phone becomes more and more important in terms of the kinds of things that you want to do with it all the time, it's important that you have this capability. It's also much, much lower power. So you can imagine in the next few years as this technology rolls out, when you put your phone down on the table, the screen goes dark. You think it's off. In the future, your screen's going to be on all the time. So your phone will actually be giving you information all the time. So that's also really interesting. And then what we see these screens doing also is replacing the electronic book readers. And so one of the areas that we're very interested in using this technology for is in education. For kids, instead of carrying around lots of textbooks, they'll just have a digital device. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about education in a bit. But we see this kind of technology, the cellular technology, also creating brand new device categories. So I'm trying to go forward. There we go. Thank you. And so we're seeing a lot of different kinds of things come out. And one of the interesting things, besides these e-readers and different kinds of tablets, there's also digital photo frames that are coming out that will be connected to the cellular network so you can beam your pictures to them all the time. Another really interesting thing is the Zibo game console, where we've actually taken the chips that go inside a cellular telephone, connected the game console up to the network using the cellular radio, but play the games using the graphics capability of the chip, and then that's connected up to a TV. So really exciting other kinds of devices. And as I said, because we've pushed the cost down so much of the very low-end chipsets, you're going to see them in all sorts of things, in all kinds of wireless devices. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But the interesting thing is, as we do this, we expand the possibilities for how wireless technology can affect people's lives. And so I talked earlier about the fact that 50% of the wireless devices of 3G wireless devices were going to go into emerging markets. And it's an area that we as a company see as being very important. How do you use wireless as an enabling technology to improve the lives of people? So that what this chart is showing you is what happens if you give people voice capability. Well, it's correlated to an increase in economic conditions, GDP per capita. And so if you have voice, you get an improvement because people have connectivity. But if you have both voice and data capabilities, mobile broadband, you have a much, much higher correlation, much better economic improvement. And so that's why it's so important that we're getting these kinds of capabilities into emerging markets. And I'll talk to you a little bit about various kinds of projects that we've done in order to use wireless technology to improve people's lives. But it is true that in many parts of the world and for many, many people, they're not going to have a computer. The only computer that they're going to have is their cell phone. And so using these capabilities to give not just mobile broadband connectivity, but all that functionality and driving the cost down of that smartphone capability, that's going to be an incredibly important thing for the world going forward. And one interesting data point, by the way, is women in particular can benefit from these services. So up to 41% of women in emerging markets who have a business report that they've improved their incomes or their opportunities by using their mobile phone as an integral part of their business. So we've done some really interesting projects around that as well. And so the name of this initiative inside Qualcomm is called Wireless Reach. And as you can see, it's a very global initiative, and the idea is to take these wireless technologies, this mobile broadband technology, and really make an impact in people's lives around the world. And we do it in a lot of areas. We do it in entrepreneurship, we do it in health, we do it in public safety, education, e-government, lots of different areas that we can use wireless technology to improve the lives of people. And to date, like I said, there's 56 projects now in 28 countries. So it's very interesting to take this technology, go work with a local partner, and then find a way that we can actually positively impact people's lives. And so one of the projects that we've done is in Brazil. And essentially, what would happen in Brazil is you'd have these fishermen, and they would go out and get fish or oysters, or whatever the seafood that they were gathering. And then they would bring it into a market, and sometimes many people would go to the same market, many fishermen would go to the same market, and so there would be too much supply for the demand, and the prices would go down. Whereas in another market, they might not have the seafood, prices would be very high, but no supply. So with this technology that we've launched through this project, fishermen can find out where they should go and what markets they should bring their fish to. And because of that, we've improved the lives of these fishermen. And this actually came also out of a project that we did in India originally, which is actually now a self-sustaining project. So one of the goals of this wireless reach initiative is to make sure that the projects are self-sustaining. We did an application called Fisher Friend in India, and it was originally motivated by the fact that there had been, I think it was a tsunami that had actually killed people, had disrupted people's livelihood because they couldn't go out and fish. And so we built an application that allowed them to get weather alerts, allowed them to get information on where the fish were, so use the location-based technologies, and also allowed them to get access to market information. What market should they take their fish to? And that application now, which runs on a very low-end cell phone, is now selling. So it's actually a commercial application, started out of one of these kinds of projects. And there have been studies done on this where it's been shown to improve the lives of the people, improve the amount of money that these individual fishermen are making. So that's really about entrepreneurship and the environment. Another one that we're working on is in Guatemala, and there we're working with the Ministry of Education in Guatemala and other partners. There's a 3G network operated by a company called Telegua, and what we've done is we've taken 15 schools within the various regions of Guatemala, and what we do is we actually connect the kids up to the internet. So they have access now in an area where they may not have had any connection to the internet before. Now they're able to get on the internet.